This is GARIS, Masculist, MGTOW flyers. That is 2-3 page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. This is flyer number 382, entitled Women shocked by masculists' anger towards them. This is part 2, carrying straight on. This greater feminist anger, in turn, infuriates the masculists because they are very conscious that women oppress men far worse than vice versa, so feel quite justified in expressing their anger and hatred at women's manslavery. This total misunderstanding on the part of the monoconscious feminists will ensure a verbally violent confrontation between them and the angry masculists, who, being men with 10 times the testosterone levels of the women, will be hugely more aggressive towards the hated fluffy feminists than vice versa, which will truly shock these feminists who have felt that they have had monopoly power over gender political issues for half a century. So to be confronted by a very angry masculist who is intellectually armed with masculist rhetoric, masculist ideas, who is convinced, given the evidence, that women oppress men far worse than vice versa, especially with the manslavery expectations of the fluffies and fluffy feminists, will become an increasingly frequent and terrifying experience for monoconscious feminists. Monoconscious feminists are still women, so have grown up expecting men to behave nicely to women. So these women know that if a man is ever to get his penis into her, he had better bloody well be nice to her. If not, then there's no way he will ever get to ejaculate in her, flooding his brain with pleasure hormones, making him feel blissed out, a feeling most men crave. Men are mothered by females, so are taught by their mothers to be nice to women, since women have total power over reproduction. It's the woman who decides which man gets to ejaculate inside her, making her pregnant. Men know this, so make a real effort to be nice to a woman, so that this woman will be more inclined to allow him to penis her. Over many years, women have come to expect men to behave nicely towards them. It's the norm, and is usually unquestioned, so it comes as a real shock for a woman, a feminist, a monoconscious feminist, to be harangued very aggressively, angrily, hatefully by a masculist who sees her as an MFB, monoconscious feminazi bigot. We can expect over the coming few years, as masculist ideas spread, that such confrontations between monoconscious feminists and biconscious masculists will increase until women, the media and society in general become a lot more informed about masculist ideas, so that society is much better informed about what masculists think. Monoconscious feminists will quickly learn not to express their feminist anger at men if the man she is talking to is a masculist. If so, she then risks having her fucking head bitten off by a very angry masculist who will have no qualms about sending her off with a flea in her ear, venting his masculist anger and hatred at monoconscious feminists and their callous, fluffy feminist hypocrisy. Over the years, more monoconscious feminists will convert themselves into biconscious feminists by bothering to learn masculist ideas, so they can understand the source of masculist hatred towards fluffies and fluffy feminists. Once they understand, they will become much more tolerant and understanding of the motives behind the severe hatred and anger of the masculists towards fluffies and fluffy feminists. As more and more feminists become biconscious, they will lose their monoconscious anger at men, because they will have their feminist anger at men cancelled by their female masculist anger at women. They will also see that by becoming biconscious feminists, that will make them much more attractive to men, who in time will become largely masculisted, the way women have been feministed over the last few decades. But getting to this stage will take years, So in the meantime, one can expect an ever-growing number of bitter confrontations between monoconscious feminazi bigots, that's MFBs, and biconscious masculists to occur, until the monoconscious feminists either learn to shut up from expressing their misandrous statements in public through fear of having their fucking heads bitten off by very angry, articulate masculists, or they absorb masculist ideas and become biconscious and thus lose their feminazi bigotry. So, it's to be predicted that over the next few years, as large numbers of men become masculisted, that a great number of feminists are going to live through a very painful experience of being confronted for the first time by very angry masculists who are intellectually armed with masculist ideas, masculist attitudes, who see these monoconscious feminazi bigots, as MFBs, as vermin, as callous towards men, who are to be harangued out of the room. When there are several or many such biconscious articulate masculists in the room, then if these men collectively verbally attack the pronouncements of the monoconscious feminist, then their attack on her will be crushing, motivating her to never again risk making such statements again, because such women do not like being told in vicious masculist terms that, quote, "Go fuck yourself, you hated feminazi bigot, you fat, ugly, unfuckable, misandrous, male-dumping feminazi bitch, the most hated category of female, that masculist men totally reject. Women like you are so repulsive to men that we punish you by forcing you to rot on the shelf, rejected by men, since no man wants a relationship or to stick his penis into a feminazi shrew. So get a taste of your own medicine, you male-dumping feminazi shit." Few women would risk being confronted by such a masculist attack a second time, so will adapt to their initial shock by silencing expression of their negative opinions of men in public. As masculist ideas spread throughout the culture, especially when the media takes up masculist ideas and broadcasts them to the masses, the millions, then most women will adapt to the biconscious attitudes of the masculists and become biconscious feminists themselves, thus changing the whole gender political climate so that the hatred of masculists can soften somewhat. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Author of the book Masculism, Men's Rebellion Against Being Manslaves to Women, an e-textbook of 380 plus masculist flyers for men's studies courses. Freely downloadable in Microsoft Word format from my website. Ciao.